secured over $10 billion in critical mineral agreements across 5 countries. Our friends and partners stand in December, for example, we convened stakeholders from around the world at the Pax Silica Summit. And thank you, Jacob, for doing that. It's launching a partnership dedicated to building a resilient silicone supply chain capable of powering a new era of global prosperity. Pax Silica and artificial intelligence may be the future. Still, the future will never come to pass. None of these things are going to be possible unless we rebuild the factories and reopen the mines upon which these technologies depend. And I want to use a case in point from our own history to highlight this. The United States used to produce its own critical minerals and derivative products like rare earth magnets. Back in 1949, miners in Mountain Pass, California, discovered one of the world's richest mineral deposits. By 1952, the United States, we were mining rare earths there, and that discovery sparked a revolution. American scientists and engineers, alongside innovators from many of the countries that are here today, rushed to discover new applications for these minerals. And with these new technologies, ushered in the jet age, we ushered in the space age, we ushered in the computer age. And then we became blinded by the potential of the technologies those metals enabled, but we neglected their importance. Mining is less glamorous than building computers. It's less glamorous than building cars or airplanes. But building computers and cars and airplanes is less glamorous than designing them. As we embraced what was new and glamorous, we outsourced what seemed old and unfashionable. We allowed, for example, Mountain Pass, and with it most of America's critical mineral industry, to wither and to die so that we could focus on manufacturing. Then we outsourced the manufacturing. And I know this is a story I'm telling, but it's a story many of the advanced economies represented here today understand well. We outsourced the manufacturing so we could focus on designing these goods. And then one day we woke up and we realized we had outsourced our economic security and our very future. We were at the mercy of whoever controlled supply chains for these minerals. So my hope is that we are gathered here today as the first but important step to rectifying this mistake, to bring together our collective talent for innovation where our advantage over rivals is only grown, and to apply it to bringing back manufacturing and reopening mines here in the United States, but also in all the partner nations represented here today. I think it's interesting that about 50 years ago, actually in this very room, ministers from around the world joined then Secretary of State Henry Kissinger for the Washington Energy Conference. That meeting took place during a moment where global energy supplies were concentrated, where markets were distorted, and access to a single critical resource, at that time, of course, being oil, had become a tool of political pressure. That is the world 50 years ago. That meeting led directly to the creation of the International Energy Agency to coordinate among like-minded partners and secure access to energy commodities. And so today, we return 50 years later in the hopes of advancing a bilateral critical minerals framework agreement to the same end on that front. These frameworks are designed to create alternative sources of supply and to protect every single stage of production, from mining to refining, and processing to manufacturing, all of these things, protecting them from non-market disruption. They will provide platforms for coordinating policies that ensure all of our citizens can enjoy abundant and affordable access to these critical minerals. And so we stand ready and intend to work with each country here today to find a specialized role that you can play. If you don't have minerals, you can help refine them. And if the countries gathered here include the largest consumers of critical mineral products, who together have the buying power, collectively, have the buying power to build a more resilient and diverse global market. Everyone here has a role to play, and that's why we're so grateful for you coming and being a part of this gathering that I hope will lead to not just more gatherings, but action. The United States stands ready alongside each of you as we enter this new age of shared prosperity and security. And I want to end by saying that while we intend to play a key role and an important role, and to use the size and influence of our markets to drive this, this is an international, multilateral effort, and it only works. You can only have diversity and choice in these markets if it is broadly adopted across multiple countries. So this initiative here today may be one that started with us, but this is not solely an American initiative. This must be an international, global initiative with like-minded countries who all have one thing in common. We want to see a diverse supply of critical minerals and a secure and resilient supply chains across the world so all of our economies can prosper without ever having these things be susceptible, at worst case scenario, being used as leverage against us, or any other disruption that could come to the market that would undermine our collective economic security. So thank you all for being a part of this today. We appreciate it very much. Let me now turn, as we'll begin our program here. I think I'm going to, well, Minister Hori, I think you're going to start off. So thank you very much for being here today. Thank you all for being a part of this today.
Thank you very much. Mr. Secretary, Your Excellencies and distinguished guests, I am Yuao Hori, State Minister for Foreign Affairs of Japan. It is my great honor to address you on behalf of the government of Japan regarding one of the most pressing and crucial issues we collectively face today, critical mineral supply chains. May I begin with thanking our host. I'd like to express my sincere appreciation for the decisive leadership of the United States in convening today's critical minerals ministerial meeting. I first would like to echo the remarks by Vice President Vance and Secretary Rubio. Japan shares a deep sense of concern and urgency about the risk of disruptions to critical mineral supply chains. Sitting at the very upstream end of supply chains and being used across a wide range of industries, critical minerals and its stable supply is indispensable to the sustainable development of the global economy. That is precisely why Japan, under Prime Minister Takaichi's leadership, has redoubled its efforts to diversify sources of supply for critical minerals. Recently, Japan designated critical minerals as one of the priority areas under the new initiative of promoting bold strategic investment to enhance Japan's resilience and achieve robust economic growth. Amid rising geopolitical risks, Japan will accelerate efforts to secure upstream sources. At the same time, we will take flexible measures downstream, such as diversifying procurement sources in cooperation with like-minded partners who are here today. In fact, in recent years, we have already witnessed first-hand supply chain disruptions. Even in recent months, this challenge has become further deteriorated. Against such backdrop, we have come to understand that we are in the same boat, as any supply chain disruption would bring significant impact on the global economy. We should work together to address this challenge. To prevent such supply chain disruptions, the key is to diversify supply sources, including the refining and processing of geographically concentrated critical minerals. To do so, it requires a collective action. We must seize this opportunity to advance cooperation among like-minded countries, partners like us. With that in mind, I'm looking forward to the launch of FORGE, the Forum on Resource Geostrategic Engagement. In the next session, Japan strongly believes that FORGE will become an important venue and a vehicle for us to focus on supply chain diversification and ensure policy coordination. Japan stands ready to actively contribute to discussions to further deepen collaboration with partners and to ensure the effective implementation of this initiative. So, how we should move forward from here? On the supply side, diversification is essential. Diversity, as opposed to concentration, is what makes us resilient. This has to be one of our major guiding principles. In this context, I'd like to take a moment to briefly talk about Japan's efforts to date. Japan has been pursuing various projects in cooperation with the United States as well as with stakeholders across the globe in this regard. diversification of supply sources and enhancement of supply chain resilience